Works that does that, and Julie Winters, kind of the color coordinator, and I think you're like.
Well, welcome to the May 15th Board of County Commissioners meeting. Let's join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any public comment? Anna, do you have anything?
No, ma'am.
All right, then we'll move to commission. Commissioner McKinley.
Oh, nothing but. Here we go. That's more people, more people were excited about, mentioned how excited they are about North County ambulance getting started. And I went up to Leonardville yesterday just to check on it, see what they got done. It's like they got the site ready, they had the boards up there for start forming the footings and stuff. It's gonna look good. I don't know what the rain does today. Got them back a little bit. Then I spent some time, a lot of time looking through budget stuff this weekend. That's about it.
Okay, Commissioner Ford.
Somewhat quiet for me for a change. Friday morning, I did meet with Josh Brewer, Executive Director of the Manhattan Area for Habitat for Humanity, discuss the county-based, the moderate income housing grant. The intent of it was due on Friday, but the actual application for it's due on June 2nd or something like that. Anyway, we've got several different things that probably need to be worked through there. So we'll probably pass that one off until November for a potential opportunity over a plot over in the Northview area, just over across from the school there. So we'll see how all that works out. I think it's probably a decent opportunity at this point in time. We're gonna have to work with the city and a couple other items on that as well. So he may or may not reach out to each one of you and run through that as well. I told him either can do it in a full presentation, or it might be better just to answer specific questions to do it individually. So if he reaches out, I apologize in advance. Friday afternoon, I also had a Zoom call with Kyle Powers from Haven Real Estate, Angela Shanine from the city of Ogden, several members of the Department of Commerce, State Department of Commerce, and the Office of Rural Prosperity, including Sarah Bloom, Ernie Bidet, Sheena Thomas, and Carrie Folletti to discuss some programs, resources, opportunities for the Ogden area, both inside and kind of in the general vicinity over there down by the river. Had a great dialogue. I think there's probably several options that may prove to be beneficial. They also plan to schedule some time to come out and tour the area, probably with Kyle and Angela, to get a better idea of what may or may not fit out there and what may not be available to allow that to happen. So a lot more to come. Also wanted to congratulate Blade Manges and his Wareham Hall Inc. group. They secured a $250,000 grant through the State Park and Revitalization and Investment and Notable Tourism Sprint Program. That's the acronym. This will go a long ways in helping them remodel and revitalize the historic hotel and theater for future use and events for the community. So they applied for that. It didn't seem like too long ago, and
Signed letter for it.
yeah. And I think there'll be a couple other opportunities along the way for them as well. So gives them some extra capital to work with. So and that's all I've got.
Okay. Yeah, well, I too had a somewhat quiet week. After our budget hearings on Thursday, I spent Friday catching up on phone calls, personal appointments. Did a lot of landscape work in the afternoon and evening and all day on Saturday. So I'm retired. Sunday, I played in the Bell Choir Church. I went to dinner with some friends for Mother's Day. Later went over the meeting agenda and all the documents for today's meeting. finish the day planting vegetables. Hopefully the main part of landscaping plans are finished for the spring. I missed all last summer, so there's some catching up to do, so. Now it's just clean up and keep the weeds down. But anyway, so that's about it for me. Weekend.
Good deal. Okay, commissioners, no business today. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes?
Yeah,
Okay, let me bring it up there, Greg.
it's number 9.
Yeah, okay, finally got there. Sorry, slow. Yes, sir.
Mine, on 9, Cox discussed the brief, it's the Kilner property, not Kilner.
Hiltner,
Kilnr.
gotcha.
Any other questions?
That's so I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes as amended from the May 11th meeting of the Riley County Commission.
A second.
So moved and seconded to approve the May 11 minutes as amended on the paper. Aye.
How to the tentative agendas of the commissioners.
Brucey, that's long. Early start.
Early
late
start,
Finish.
late finish.
Yeah,
I
Yes,
agree.
so, yeah. The city is, yeah, it wasn't, didn't have room to spend.
Or is there going to be a quorum of you there at the city county? Because the reason I'm asking, if you're not, I don't need to be there, so.
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I've got to rearrange a
Find out
couple of
on
things to try to
Thursday.
make that work.
Well, I can ask
I'm
on
interested in
Thursday.
the presentation for some reasons,
Yeah,
but I just
interesting.
can't. I can't be everywhere every given time. I just can't.
It's gonna be a long day.
Any items for next week's press conference? Okay, yeah, we better break commissioners because Amanda Webb is at 9 o'clock. 2 out of state travel requests. Get some more rain this afternoon.
Barely. Mhm.
At 1800s this morning. My mom and Selena had 3.25 inches already this morning.
What about up north? How's the rain going?
I didn't look at mine this morning.
Pretty good.
Yesterday, that last night it was, we got a little bit in the evening, but it was barely enough to
Mhm.
get the pavement that.
Right.
I've been watching the creek behind my house. It's pretty full. There's not a whole lot of water. It's not much. It's scary.
Yeah, creek by my house feeds down behind yours.
Yeah, mine, yeah, it all vines are out, ends up behind my house and it takes off to the river.
Mine goes to the lake. I'm hoping it goes up. Go do some catfish.
I saw some pictures from Antwerp. And they're getting really dry. The spillway at the lake is actually going over.
Really?
It used to
Oh,
dry
really?
all the time. It's just they had a huge flood coming.
Wow.
I had not
Just
heard
all
about
at
that.
once, yeah.
You, a bad accident out our way.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
heard about
I
that.
think the guy just wasn't paying attention, I guess, or.
Killed one person and sent 2 others to the hospital.
1-year-old, yeah, he ran right into the back of the truck.
No helmet.
Wasn't
right.
no-
I said he was turning. I thought they meant keep from the other direction.
No, the truck was turning and the motorcycle just ran right in back into the
I didn't
truck.
ever hear I kept hearing the vague details, never.
Yeah, I heard that on the radio this morning.
And it wasn't even at the corner. It was down a little
Right.
ways.
It was
Which I thought was
south.
odd.
Oh,
South.
He didn't have a helmet on. Yeah,
That is really scary when I see people on motorcycles without a helmet. I just, oh, gee.
had a broccoli already this week.
Neat.
Did you?
Which none of the others have even started anything. And one plant got a
Nice.
that's got a head on it already.
There's always that one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
overachiever.
Yeah.
Got my last 2 eggplants in just before the rain came, so that's good. They're getting a nice water.
Some bean seeds, you know.
I replanted some bean
Yeah, you
seeds. I
said
had
you-
like one or two plants along that row. I replanted those before the rain got here.
Well, I haven't had much of beans.
I do really good with bees usually.
Oh,
Like I said, I gotta keep my fence up,
See, love them.
like rabbits, love it.
Mhm.
You know,
You need to invest in a pelican.
I do have that too. But unless I sit out there all
I
day.
sit out there, and the nighttime was when they come out of my house, they sneak around at nighttime. Of course, then the coyotes around too. Had two great big old coyotes in my backyard the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, during the day, I'm like, oh, what's going on here? They're actually great. Usually behind the trees.
Yeah. Just breathe.
Go get those things.
Amanda,
Good morning.
I'm like crazy squashing cucumbers. You know, you plant several seeds in the mounds, like every one of them came
Oh,
out.
yeah.
They come up like crazy. Want to thin those out. See which ones take off better.
Strawberries, with my blues on.
And this weather's perfect for strawberries.
I wanted to plant some. Not cheap rabbits, deer, I don't know if they, I don't have a good spot to put it in.
Water is good for my trees, but not fruit trees I planted, so. Water them. First time I'd ordered a bare root tree from one of those
Yeah.
far away places, you know, and it comes in a box and it's really light, so it's bare root, you know. And I couldn't get to it right away and read the instructions, said just moisten it, like shredded paper around the roots, and so I moistened it. Put it down in the basement, said a cool, dark place until you can get to it. It's probably 3 or 4 days later. And took it out, you know, some yellow leaves were starting to come in because we couldn't get no chloroform going in there, and planted that thing and it took off and they greened up and it's doing really good. I was kind of wondering how it would go, you know, I've never done that.
A couple times.
Well, and you gotta soak it, you know, for like 3 to 6 hours in the roots before you plant it. No, it's doing good.
I'm doing that with the Forest Service, they you can buy bare root stuff out of there.
Yeah, my son had done that with a red bud that's in our yard,
Yeah.
you know, a little twig like that
Little
when he was a
twig.
little boy, and now it's 15-foot tall red bud.
I ordered some, I got some of those flowering sumacs, and now they're about this tall. Made a hedge with them, but they were like. But it was, you know, it was a good deal when you buy them.
I think my son did it as a school project when he lived there at Riley. Gave him a bunch to the school, you know. And brought it home one day, the little kid and planted it down there by the garden. Really nice looking red bud tree.
Too.
Keep right home to that, you know, whenever planted it, have to go, you got a big
Yeah.
Big tree in their yard now that he started.
We got one of those Blake did when he was young, and he just planted an acorn, wanted to do it. It's a little ways from that red bud. It came up and it's like, I don't know, 15 foot tall at least now, and he prunes it because he wants it to be a really long, straight trunk, and he prunes it every year.
Oh, yeah.
He was out there pruning it this year. He babies that thing. The farmer got some overspray weed killer on it, and he was not happy, but it survived, so.
There was a guy. One of the teachers in education, that he has a UFM class, this was back in the 80s. Might be composting or something, he had like a 10-acre spot, out kind of by Seattle Church. And on half of it, he planted walnut, I mean, a whole row of, just take it, he said, and people said, oh, you'll never get anything out of those, he said, somebody will. And I went, I've been meaning, because it's back on a little, I see the name, I looked online and found it, and it's got same last name, it's not his, but I'm sure it's his kid. I wondered if that was Mullen, still in.
Have you seen the walnut grove at Wildcat Creek Park? That one where we put that bridge up, that Wildcat Creek Park out by Keats.
Yeah.
Go walk back in there and it's all
Yeah,
planted.
all the ones that was
walnuts.
on the go, oh, that's really cool.
Those are all planted in walnuts decades ago. I haven't been out there forever. I wonder how big they are.
Big,
Are they?
yeah, they're really big.
I need to go out there and look at it, 'cause, yeah. they
Like,
started-
it's so neat because it just grows
Uh-huh.
up. and
It's all
just-
walnuts.
Yeah,
Yep. There's a
I've never
lot.
been down in there, I mean, I've seen signs.
Buy 100, aren't there, Kathy?
oh,
Wow.
easy, probably, I don't know.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of them
Mhm.
that are
Wow,
really, they're
it's a
really.
nice big open square park area, and it's the planted, and there's just rows and rows of
There's some
walnuts.
picnic tables out there,
Uh-huh.
it's really, and then
It's a
you-
neat area.
if you go down, there's, the creek, it's just a little brook kind of thing.
That's a really
Tributary.
underutilized area. There used to be a swing out over the creek there. Is it still there on that
I haven't
tree?
seen
Have you
that.
participated in that, Commissioner Ford?
Yeah, actually, it's this. Plead the fifth.
You might have heard about it.
Might have heard about some extracurricular activity in Aggieville too at one point in time, but.
Plead the fifth.
Morning, David.
Morning. How's everybody?
Good, are you?
Good.
All right.
Yeah, I think that Wildcat Creek Park is an underutilized gym that a lot of people would really like to walk back there. It's an easy walk, 'cause it's a road,
Oh,
really, and not that long of a walk either.
well, it's got a, in the path, there's. a creek goes over.
Mhm.
Yes. I went, took a charging class. So
That's a
years
great
ago,
area.
and they went out there and.
Great area for that.
Children. Yeah, there's hardly anything there. When you got girls. So, So how are you doing? You into your job, and learning a lot?
Yes, it's been a good transition. So it's nice to have, my last county, I was the only person, I didn't have office staff. It was just me, no other attorneys. So it's kind of nice to have more people to rely on. It's made the transition a lot smoother, I think, than when I jumped in
Yeah.
last time. So,
Where do they have you set up at? I need to come over.
in the old conference room
Oh,
that's up
okay.
there, so. They converted that to an office, took care of whatever, all the stuff that was in there. I don't know where it went, but they took care of it before I got here, so.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Every up there seems nice.
Yeah, that's a good staff. Very helpful.
So
How long were you in Miami?
about 2 years. And so their previous county councilor, I think, had been there forever. I want to say like 20 years, maybe more. And he was the county attorney there before that for a little bit before being a county councilor. Then he retired and they tried to outsource it, contract for somebody with a little bit. That just didn't work out for them. And so that I wasn't really looking, just like I really wasn't looking when I ended up here. I wasn't really looking, but somebody, well, their county, so I was a PVD before I was there. I was the PVD attorney for the state of Kansas before I went there. So their appraiser approached me multiple times before I agreed to talk to their county, because they have a county administrator there. And so that's how I wound up there. And then the attorney for KAC approached me when you guys were looking for a deputy and said, hey, I think you should look into this. I think you'd be a good fit for Riley. And so, because again, I don't tend to look too often. I get comfortable, I like to stay where I'm at.
Yeah.
But as long as things are going well. So, but I don't know if you guys know Jay Hall,
Jay Werewolf.
he went to law school with my husband, and so we're friends. And he tends to have good judgment, knows what's going on in the different counties, and he wouldn't have called me and recommended it if he didn't think that things were going well here. So
I'm very impressed with Jay.
same.
I like that.
So since getting to know him better as
I was
They've been lucky. The last attorney was good too. I like
when I was a smart move. They made him deputy director and stuff too.
for sure.
He worked out in Vegas for a long time in the hotel industry. So when we were out there for our annual conference in 19, he knew exactly where to go and where to hang out at. And
Oh, really?
Craig and his
I
wife
didn't know
was
that.
there for KAC, and his wife is an attorney too.
yes,
Danielle.
Danielle. She's now, I believe, the director of KLAP, the Kansas League Lawyers Assistance Program. So for lawyers who are suffering from mental health issues or substance abuse issues, they can go and get that help there and work through that with, while hopefully maintaining their license. It's a good program. And so she's heading that up, and she's doing a fantastic job. So yeah, Danielle, she's smart. She's a good attorney.
So you got all settled in Manhattan, or where did you come from? You came from Miami County?
Yes, so I live in Paola. My husband lives in Lawrence, and so I kind of switch back and forth between my place and his place and our place, or however, we're just all over the place. But
He'd much rather be here than Lawrence. Much rather.
I haven't worn my KU stuff yet.
That's good.
So-
You can once.
Yeah.
You can once.
But, somebody here has a bunch of Kentucky stuff in their office, so
They're Wildcats though.
Yeah.
They accept Wildcats.
fair enough.
And we tend to beat them a lot, so it's okay.
Well, I know you met George Pretz. He was laughing when I was leaving. He's like, "So you're gonna buy purple?" I'm like, "No, George, I'm not buying purple." I do have a purple sweater. But,
He's a character.
I really like George, and I get along surprisingly well, which I think surprised a lot of people because he's notoriously sometimes, well, he likes to play, devil's advocate on things and really look deep into things. And I think some people don't like that. I do. I like the fact, he was a numbers guy. He always knew like how much we were spending on things. He knew them better than I did. He kept good track of that stuff. So I knew if I needed to go to somebody with numbers, George was going to have them. But he's been there for quite a while. And I think he's on the board of Farm Bureau this year too.
Oh, yeah.
So, he keeps busy, which means he's out here sometimes.
Yep, we have the annual meeting out here and nice. There's 2 times the state meets out here at the facility out on such Isles.
They went to Puerto Rico this year,
He was mentioning that.
so I did not get invited for some reason.
That's too bad.
I don't know. No, he keeps busy.
So where did you go to law school?
KU.
Hey, you.
It's all the KU stuff. You tend to pick it up when you go to school there. That's no, it was funny. They actually gave me a very good scholarship. So that's how I ended up there. And when I decided that's where I was going, I call it, my dad is a KU fan and has been since I was like, well before I was born. And he got so excited and he was substitute teaching in a class and told them all. Then he calls me back. He's like, wait, are you going because you want to go there because of me? And I was like, no, they offered me a good scholarship.
Sorry, Dad, money's worth a little bit more than your school
It
tradition.
was not going to go somewhere that, was going to put me in so much debt that I couldn't get out of it type thing. And law school's expensive. So
Yeah, it is.
it has gotten incredibly expensive. There are students coming out with hundreds of thousands of dollars in months. And I just wasn't going to do that. That didn't make sense because this is not my first career. So I was working in finance before this and making an okay living. So it didn't make sense to me to go deep into debt to do something, but I was interested in law. So, and I'm glad I did it.
Okay, is really good law school.
It is actually this year. They jumped in the ranks significantly. They're ranked number 40 in the country overall this year, which is huge, being in the top 50. And then they are ranked number 18 of the public law schools in the country. And they have one of the best moot court programs in the country. They won, I think, 2 or 3 national championships this year.
Oh, really?
So they're doing some really good stuff. Washburn's really good, at what they do too. That's where my husband met me. So I don't want to disparage our other fantastic law school in the state.
Your husband and your boss.
I don't know where Craig went. I think he also went to Washburn, maybe.
I think he may have went to Washburn.
But I wouldn't
His
swear
class
on
he did,
that at
but
this
yeah, I
point.
think Craig may have as well.
Yeah, I know it's a great school. My husband's an adjunct professor there and coaches their trial like BOCC team. So, and sometimes I help out with that, even though I didn't go there. And Kansas is lucky to have 2 pretty good schools in that regard.
Have you made the circuit meeting everybody yet?
Pretty much, yes. There's one director who had to reschedule, who hasn't rescheduled yet.
Working on it. We all could have guessed.
Yeah.
No, I say that we've met briefly. I just haven't been out to 2 of your facilities at this point. Mhm.
So you.
Well, whatever you do, don't blink, you might miss it.
I was a little busy last week.
Yeah.
So you met him and you still want to meet him. Okay.
I mean, I do have a job to do. I was impressed. You guys' public works facility is
Yeah.
really fantastic.
That it is.
I think that they're hosting something either next week or the week, coming up soon. Because I had texted the public works director out in Miami County. I was like, you should see their facilities. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm like, well, then maybe you shouldn't see it. But
So there's been
'Cause then you're gonna
several
want-
counties that have come and looked at our facility that have considered, building new one.
it's a great facility.
It'll last for decades, is the thing about it.
Yeah, and there's lots of good space out there. I mean, that training room and stuff that's out there. I think that Miami County is fortunate to have some space like that, which is really great.
All done
You're
with
right, I
cash
counted.
and no debt, and a lot of public works employees work. On all the groundwork, the dirt work, parking lots.
I think we're gonna do that for the new building.
Start saving up now. Did it out of CIP incrementally. What helped too on that was the sale of the old shop site as well.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Webb, Planning Director. I have a couple of out-of-state travel requests for you folks this morning. We'll start with Darren Hobbs, of course, our planning compliance specialist. He also does our floodplain administration. And he, as one of the requirements of his position, of course, is to become a certified floodplain manager. And he's been working on that, attending lots of different webinars, trainings, of course, a couple conferences, state conferences the last couple of years. This came up, so this is the Community Rating System Workshop, CRS. It's put on by the Nebraska DNR, Department of Natural Resources, and FEMA. So this is kind of the closest one we can find within a reasonable amount of time. As you folks know, we have to do CRS recertification every year. And the last couple of years has actually been pretty minor, pretty simple, if you will, but it's not always going to be that way. So this is going to really help him break down each of those pieces that we have to do and really understand what all of that encompasses. So I think this is going to be really, really helpful both for him and then being able to keep up with our certifications and getting everything done and making sure we stay at our classification or better. So I do definitely think this is a really helpful training for him to attend. And of course, I have to request out of state since it's in Nebraska, but it's just, of course, those couple hours away. The workshop itself doesn't cost, so everything is just travel related, mileage, meals, and hotel. So, and everything can be covered by planning and development's current budget. No additional budget is needed.
We have to do these separately. Right?
Yeah, since we're stuck with them. And set up a few different motions.
I don't know, that's Lincoln, you know, I don't know.
He'll just go straight to the conference and won't do anything else.
Darren's a KU guy too, isn't he?
He is.
Almost worth the trip just for runs.
Mm.
You know, you
Good
get us
point.
Morris, right?
Good one. Please.
Ogalla Aquifer Conference Room. That's the name. Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the out-of-state travel request for the Community Rating Systems Workshop.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the travel request for the Community Rating System Workshop. All in favor?
Sure, please sign.
Thank you very much. Wait a second before I jump on the. Ready for the next one? Okay, so this one is for me, a soils workshop. I have gone back and forth on this the last couple months since our position has been vacated. Should I do this? Should I not? You know, what are the options here? And I landed on that. I do think it's important for me to have some at least basic. This is not going to tell me everything, but it's going to get me closer, and I can, you know, help fill in with things. I can, you know, help make determinations without having to scramble and find, okay, who can help me verify this and whatnot. I've been lucky enough to go out with Dr. Presley a few times last week in the field, and she's going to take me with her as both of our schedules kind of permit, as she is helping us over the next while. She's been showing me some soil stuff, and we've been getting down to the pits and everything. So that's been really helpful. This is the closest class I can find within a reasonable amount of time. Nowhere in Kansas is there going to be anything offered. Nothing is scheduled for the rest of this year. I've talked to the state, I've talked to different agencies, I've talked to colleagues at different counties, and nobody knows of anything that's gonna be, scheduled in Kansas the rest of the year. They had a soils workshop earlier this year, earlier in the spring, that unfortunately just missed it, wasn't able to get in. By the time I kind of figured out that might be helpful, it was full. So at this point, there's no plan to have another one of these until at least next year, or at least not till late next year. So again, this is the closest one I could find. There's of course ones all over, but I wanted to try to get as close as possible. And I did reach out to the folks who are putting this class on, just kind of gave them a really quick snippet of what I'm thinking, what's happening and what I'm trying to do. And, they thought that this would be helpful and could make sense, for that. So again, I have let's go down to the kind of the agenda here. So it's a couple days. It does a wide variety of things. Again, it's not going to give me everything, that takes time. But it's going to help me with some of the soil, as well as what Deanne is helping me with. Going to learn a little bit more about the different designs and how those equate to what kind of soils you're seeing, and when we can use this one versus this one, because I'm also learning nothing is straightforward. And just kind of, as you see, kind of everything else along there, everything that we deal with as well here. Yes, I know Colorado is a little bit different from Kansas, of course, but obviously characteristics of soils are the same. Different systems are similar, are very much the same. So even though, again, I'll be in a little bit of a different location, all of everything I'm able to glean from there I can use here. So any questions, thoughts on that one so far?
And you will drive out there.
I will drive out there. I did compare flight and rental. Obviously, it's more expensive to do it that way, so figured I can just drive out there. It's not too far in the grand scheme of things, so.
Yeah, by the time they have to drive to Kansas City.
Right,
Car. and-
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, and it did wind up being more expensive, so I went the cheaper, if you will. And yes, you can see just the different costs there. Again, all of this would be covered by planning and development's current budget. No additional funding would be needed for this, so.
Yeah,
I appreciate the fact that you're going out trying to learn more.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Good.
We had that. Were you on that conservation tour that we did?
I was not. No, I did ask about that to see, because of course, anytime I see the word soils now, I'm like, what's going on? So, but I wasn't, no, so.
Yeah, the one fellow there that showed us the soil samples, and he was really good. So
Yeah.
you might, when you get back, you'll have a little more knowledge, and maybe work with him on how that relates to the Kansas soil.
For sure, yeah,
Probably.
no, I'm happy to take any learning opportunity I can get, so. For
We
sure,
have a lot more clay here, I think. Colorado.
I guess we'll find out, but yeah, I hear we're very clayey here, so. Actually, where I come from in Washington, that's pretty standard too, so. Ladies.
Okay, now I'll make a motion to approve the travel request to attend the CPOW soils course in Golden, Colorado.
Well, second.
So moved and seconded to approve the travel request to attend the CPOW soils course in Golden, Colorado. All in favor? Aye.
Right, thank you so much, I really appreciate it.
Learn a lot.
Yes,
The
that's
first
the plan.
commission I sat with, Commissioner Jim Williams, used to call soils dirt, and County Commissioner Bob Newsom, but just from the extension lectured when endlessly, it's not dirt is not soil.
Dirt is what you got on your finger.
Yeah.
But it's soil.
Commissioner Williams gets several lectures from Commissioner Newsom, who was not bashful on soils.
It was a bad one, didn't it?
It was not. Also the pair that made it in the Mercury over the dispute of parking places. In the county commission. Commissioner Williams parked in Commissioner Newsom's spot today, and that didn't go well.
They had designated spots for each one. or what?
Well, no, it's just, you know, you get used to your spot and have their names, and so
Kinda like
Like I said,
church.
ours
there was
just-
someone
just
parked in
because
the
who-
other
who
spot when
gets
he
here
got
first
here,
is kinda how
so
ours
he took
goes.
it.
Like church, you
That'd
sit in the wrong
The
pew.
Mercury
you're in
headlines a
trouble.
couple times, so.
Oh, yeah.
My question was, they say whether that with the the trees. Are they harming some?
So I think they're gonna pay their some, or they're gonna take care of it.
Okay. Mhm.
But so we look at the trees, because there's trees in the right of way also on the roads, and I don't know what it is, very good, so either you listen to this, or you didn't think that.
That was fun, yeah. Yep.
And so they also.
It wouldn't start.
Opening.
It quit.
At least
I
as
tried
far as
everything.
Right. No, I just wanted it to the end of our.
So they didn't, there was no pushback.
Okay.
So I'll get that changed.
I
Yeah.
changed the arms.
Much more.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Good, yeah, I mean. It's much a different. Going to the. so really-
Well, this is not the same that goes down to.
Correct, I think the.
I can't breathe, so I thought, well, if I can turn the town.
Somebody may go into a little bit because they gotta do the dirt work, but yeah.
I thought that was a great idea.
She were building it. So.
But at the end of the day,
No. So we just.
there's a
need to
little
get
patch
that
left. That's
alley.
right. I checked it in, I said, it's like quite a lot. Oh, well, too bad, you should have-
So you didn't want entrance like that. It's on a highway.
Yeah, PDOT said we cannot enter from there. Exit, we cannot enter from there.
Mhm.
So being because of the site distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, very
I
much.
have a good one. I can set it up about.
No, KDOT was very adamant that. Because they would not allow it, unless we go really. Back, so, yeah.
So we do have it now.
Yeah, like I said, it seems like everything's going fine, so unless something changes.
I thought it was so.
Yeah, we just never know with them what's going on. They be once a month
Yeah.
in an evening.
And so I think they're gonna be, I haven't.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna let us know if there are any issues. I thought they were meeting within a day or two of us having to know, but I might be.
I tell you, those Big meetings.
Cause I just kind of. Came
Right, it's the first or second, like Tuesday.
Well, I need to go to the other.
Oh,
On my Octopi.
I was out today and tomorrow, and so I'll get with him when he gets back on Wednesday and double check. Yeah, and like I have everything, and he's been pretty good about CCing.
Sure, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
But your motor not starting there, why is it something about yanking on a motor started that won't start, that is the most frustrating thing in the world? It'll make you say things you shouldn't say more quickly than anything.
Well, my mower, my regular mower is easy.
Well, this one has always started, I mean, it's been, one pole, one pole went good.
I was trying on that weed eater, it was like 5 or 6 profiles.
But it wasn't even, it was a sparkle, because it didn't, wasn't even trying to fire. So,
Yeah, I think that's like.
They sit all winter and they kind of get varnished in the carburetor. I'll tell you what I find really reasonable to work on is waters over there. They're very reasonable and quick. And that guy Frank, he is really good, really nice to deal with.
I've taken them to place off of $4 over.
Mm.
How about neighbor?
Well, we used to say Martin Luther King, where it ties in. Remember, it's got a strange name to it, but they always got a bunch of stuff up there. And they're like, because I had problems with the writing. But still.
Good.
Okay, it's 9:15.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Adams, Maintenance Director with my monthly updates. Calls for service, 454 calls in April. This month doesn't feel like it's going to be near that high, so we'll see. But had 20 calls in North County, which about typical, about what we would expect. So no really change in the call volumes as far as the amount of calls each station's running. So 148 for our headquarters, 135 for the station 2. Public Works had 100, which is a little higher than typical, but and then the airport 62, and then ALS First Response in Leonardville, that 12-hour SUV had 17. So that is high for them. So typically they run about 10 or so. That's just about the time when the calls come in. It just goes to show we never know. The rest, we had some event standbys, and you'll see 51, they ran a couple reports, very minor calls type of thing. So obviously working on new building construction topics. Federal cost reporting, it's due May 31st. Josh has got one little bit left to do. He was out of town last week, so thank you to those I reached out to needing some information, got it back pretty quickly. So he'll get that entered, and then he has to set me up as a designee, or he's the reporter, but I'm the administrator type of thing. So we've got to be in the same room for him to get me set up like that, so I can submit his work. So, but deadline's May 31st. We'll be done, plenty of time. So we just did our hiring process, and since this was the first one we've done in a year, we're evaluating it as we always do. I think we're going to add some things to our academy that we do when they bring them in for 3 or 4 days. We're gonna because things change over time. So, but as always, we try to evaluate that. But it went really well. I'm happy with it. I'm appreciative of all of our staff who were involved in that, because it takes 6, 8, 10 people to do this, to do it correctly. So, but it went well. So, EMS compliance, have a meeting set up with them in 2 weeks. They're having a seminar in Liberal, but this Friday. So, and it's full, it filled up as soon as they open it up. So they're gonna have another one. I'm gonna try and get it up here into Northeast Kansas. So, but still working on that, but it's a big deal now. And like I said, it was full that day, so people are willing to travel to Liberal for an 8-hour seminar. Budget 2024 has been submitted, obviously. Get ready to roll out the state report writing software. So they kind of took the advice of stop making changes, let people roll it out, because we're chasing our tails here on this. So they've put a stop to it, and so we're getting ready to roll ours out here. I think certainly by the end of June, but that's going to take a fair amount of training with our staff, because there's changes to this report writing and such. And it's been 10 years since they've had a big update like this. So, but Alex and Josh are working on that and working on the training for our staff. So, because it's a fairly significant change. So, some ways it's better, some ways it's not as easy and free flowing. So, but it is what it is. So, preparing for our state inspection, our annual state inspection, where they give us 24 hours notice and they show up. They've inspected everybody around us, but not us. So, so we're prepping ahead of time, as we typically do. Crews are going through the trucks, making sure everything is working appropriately. If there's a light out or something, that it's been reported, and we have a reporting system, so it's been reported, getting fixed, things like that. So, like I said, 24 hours notice is all they have to give us. And unless I'm out of state, then I'm required to be there. So so we're kind of just waiting on that phone call. So, but Alex has got all of his paperwork done for the quality control and quality assurance side of it and such. So working with Fort Riley and Via Christi Manhattan with the airport closing, some of the fixed wing transfers that come in, usually they're from like Children's Mercy out of Kansas City. But occasionally somebody who will be a resident of this area will be out of state and they have an emergency of some sort and they need to be flown back home. So typically those go to the airport, we take a crew out, our crew picks up that, if it's Children's Mercy coming to take a patient out. Our crews will go out, pick up their flight crew, take them to the hospital, wait while they do what they do, and then we take them back to the airport. So with Manhattan closed, Fort Riley is working with all the local partners, Riley, Ottawatomie, Geary, Clay, all of those to be able to use Marshall Army Airfield. But there's, we had to go out, tour it, put an operations plan together for our staff so they know how to get there, what gate to go through, where they're supposed to park, all of those things. So our shift captains went out about 2 weeks ago, I believe now, toured it, put together a good operational plan, and have rolled that out to our staff so that we can go out there. So they're also using the Wamego Airport for some of these as well. So, but for something like that, if it's coming, the patient is coming to or from Manhattan, we typically do those transfers. If they land out of Marshall, that they're going to Junction City, then that's Junction City's or Geary County's EMS to handle. We don't go doing those for other people. We worry about ours. So, but we probably won't do this, but probably a handful of times. But we need to know what to do when it is time to do it. So, working with INBAF and partners headed the ribbon cutting ceremony. I've been involved in multiple meetings with them. Have another 1 or 2 before ribbon cutting. We'll have a crew there with an ambulance and such set up for that ceremony. So, but all of the partners are involved, our CPD, Manhattan Fire, obviously ourselves, KHP. So, but I think I've been involved in three meetings. We have another one again this Thursday, and then one just the day before the ribbon cutting. So it's going to be a big deal. 300, I think 350 dignitaries is what I saw last. So, but had the opportunity to spend some time out there. Haven't had the full tour yet, but I will. They still got a couple of years before they're operational. So, and then working with Manhattan Fire in Riley County Fire District #1 on updating some of our first response protocols. So we're getting a lot of questions related to Narcan and the opioids and such. So working with them on that and educating and training and such. This has been ongoing for several months. We're starting to get towards the end of that. So education, still 100% review of all calls. As I said, the new hire academy is done. Orientation now working with their field training officers on shift. So I know today we have 3 of them on at 3 different stations. So reading their what they call observation reports at the end of each shift, where it's a system where they go through and they mark what they've done and how they've done, and they rated them and things. Looking really well. Got a lot of young people who are very excited, and they're learning lots. So one of the things then we've done is we have to renew every year our continuing education program provider through the state. This allows us to manage our own in-house education programs from the state. You can be your own program provider, or you can kind of let the state do it for you. It's a whole lot easier to be your own program provider. So we can set it up. We don't have to ask for permission prior to putting on an education program. We just have the paperwork that you have to fill out. You have to have objectives. You have to have rosters, sign in, sign out, things like that. So Alex handles all that internally, but every year he has to submit a plan, and then they review what you've done in the past, and they look at last year's state inspection, because when the state inspection come in, they look at all of your training plans and such, and all of your rosters to make sure that you've got signatures, and you have a time in, and you have a time out for lunch, and a time in after lunch, and all of that. So he does really well with that, but that takes him a little bit of time to get that updated every year, and been submitted and such, so. And then shift training, a book called Just in Time Training, crews are doing them about once a month. They're trying to, we tried to do them on shift, but 454 calls, it doesn't work very well, so. So they've kind of gone to after shift for an hour, they bring them together and they go over it, they sit down, they knock out whatever it is they're doing, whether it's skills. Or if it's a protocol, renewal or just updates and things like that, so. We try to do it on duty, but you can spend all day and not get every crew, so. It's just time consuming and tough. And then we've continued with car seat check lanes and some CPR training for a couple of the local businesses. And then our breakdown of our call volume, I just really noticed that Saturdays were a little slower, which is typically not the case. But I think everybody was going out Fridays and enjoying their time, and so, but you can start to see a little bit that you know, people are out and about. We're seeing more soft tissue injuries, more falls. You know, getting hurt, working in the yard, things like that, but not as much necessarily the cold and flu. And then the breakdowns, we're still, the peak of the day starts, you know, about noon, and we stay fairly steady throughout until about midnight, 1 o'clock. So. And then our stations, like I said, Medic 51 to Station 5, they ran some minor patient assists or you know, refusals that somebody was hurt, but they didn't want to go to the hospital. So, and then Medic 12 was a couple times we were busy, and that, you know, they staffed up that truck, and other times it was event standbys. So. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
David. Next, commissioners, myself with press conference. Susan?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Lindsay, I already talked yesterday, but your direction. Hi, Catherine, how are you? So I talked to Jill this morning, to let her in the office, but.
Raining out or anything?
It's kind of chilly out compared to what it was yesterday. Yeah. It is, and I'm trying to think when, it was earlier, I think I wondered yesterday, but yeah, I didn't know, but yeah.
That just means we'll make up for it later on in the summer.
All right, you're right. The
Okay.
average temperature doesn't vary that much in the year, and yeah.
It'll just be hot in September during football season, so.
This weather's usually.
Yeah, I think our months are like behind. I mean, now we're getting the April showers, and typically get, you know, and I think everything's adjusted about a month.
No, good. Okay, good, that, because that's like, so it shows really, like, somebody just went every single.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you have the right babies, you have the right amount, so as long as you work that way, you're good. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah, you guys are all taken care of. Thank you, of course.
Let's go.
It's going, how are you?
Pretty good. I think. Get the rain, put me in there.
I know, me too. Me too on that.
Monday, and I'm still here. That puts me in a good mood. So.
You're still here. You made it through a morning.
There are worse options.
No, definitely.
Great, ma'am.
Yes.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rich Barger, Riley County Clerk. I'll remind everyone of the upcoming June 1st at noon filing deadline for all of the city office positions and all of the school district positions. There's a complete list out there on the Riley County website, an election calendar of everything of all the positions that are open. We have had some filings. A lot of times it's getting here quickly, and I think it's sneaking up on people because for some of the larger ones here in town, we don't have a whole lot of filings yet, but hopefully we will have more coming up soon. I want to remind everyone, as things are arriving quickly, that the voter registration deadline closes July 11th. So people that are not currently registered to vote do need to register to vote. It's critically important in our community because have so much transition with the university and Fort Riley. And also if someone's changed their name, it makes the process a lot easier as well when they're going through the voter registration process. If someone's gotten married or divorced, for whatever reason, their name has changed, to get that done appropriately. And then advanced voting in person and by mail is July 12th. Commissioners have any questions on the upcoming filing deadline or elections?
That'd be,
Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say that'd be, of course, if we have primaries, right?
If we have a primary, yeah, we always, we're preparing as, of course, we are going to have a primary as we have to because it gets here so quickly. So, yeah. Yep. And the rule on that, of course, I'm not sure a lot of residents know, if it's not a county, if not every registered voter throughout the county gets the opportunity to vote on something, then it's that entity that pays for the cost of that primary. So if they're just a primary for USD 383 board positions, they have to pay for it. If it's just for the city of Manhattan, they have to pay for it. And we bill them for those costs. Any other questions?
No, when Ron Fear was in the other day, he was talking about the city was revising their advertising things for, they said the state rules about where you can put signs that changed.
Oh, yeah, And
Do we need to do that?
No, we have done that a long time ago. The city, for whatever reason, they kind of bucked what state law was for quite a while now, because the state said you cannot prohibit someone from putting it in a right of way. Which, in the city of Manhattan, it's where the sidewalk is. It's supposed to be where the house side is. Well, you're actually allowed by state law to put it in the right of way on the other side of the sidewalk, and the city had an ordinance opposing that. So, if someone wanted to go to great lengths and take them to court over that time, they would have most likely won, but the city was slow in changing that.
Oh, okay. He made it sound like they just changed the law.
Yeah, no, they're
Just
changing.
catching up. A long time ago, they're just catching up. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, they were really against it. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of cities are for some reason.
Yeah.
That's, yeah,
Well, they don't. mow
Might be,
residential
yeah,
areas, but.
might have to do with maintenance of curbs. Sometimes you have fire hydrants,
Yeah,
those sort of things in
yeah.
that area.
I don't really know because it's the landowner's responsibility to take care of that and maintain, so, yeah, whatever. I can see, did have to be careful with the size of signs because on a corner, it can't
That's
Yeah.
impede, your visual of traffic, so I can see in those instances, but yeah. Something that is interesting also regarding the city, of course, I think commissioners know they're going to pass a city ordinance, so they will, because of the vacated city commission position, to have 4 places up for election. And as Ron said, they do have the authority. I've been in contact with the city attorney and Ron and all of them for a couple months now on this subject. And so they do have the authority legally to dictate how they want it to be on the ballot. And it does appear as they're going to choose to have 4 open positions. And as he said, the 2 lower ones the first lower one will get the 2-year term. The second one will get the unexpired term. So it'll be a little bit different
Yeah, it is good.
this year, for sure. Any other questions, commissioners? Do encourage people to go out to the website. Our website's great. We have a lot of information out there. Of course, we have the complete calendar now, but also past election statistics. We're constantly getting requests for that to see, what the last comparable election was. We have all of that information out there, including special questions and such. It's a great resource. Okay, thank you. Next, I am up at 9:40. Laura.
Hey, how about you? No.
I had 80 hundreds this morning.
We have a big tank that collects rainwater to make water. And stuff, and then put it in this tank, they fill it, and it's just trying to it's so holy cow. I didn't realize, yeah, I didn't even know rain.
Oh, Daryl.
Not
I
bad.
went by this morning, say good morning. You
Allergies.
had exited.
I know allergies are kind of,
I have one daughter that's fighting them horribly.
yesterday doing, handing out the diplomas was a little difficult for all those hours up there without having to sneeze your hand on.
How many graduated?
446, I think was the number. It was a large class.
Large as mine.
Last year was barely over 400.
It's come down a little bit. Mine was 474.
Last year was down, this year was.
Of course, that was. Yeah, we don't have. that. It's just that alone.
Hey, at least you weren't on the horse and buggies.
Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rich Barber, Riley County Clerk, again for you to discuss some needs within the clerk's office as far as positions. And of course, these are for 2024. I want to be sure that's clear, but according to our budget cycle, we have to plan well in advance. And so just kind of want to have this be a discussion, open dialogue on how we got here, why we think this, and just an open discussion with the board. It does create some other challenges for us as well, as far as facilities wise. We'll apologize to you that it was not with the rest of the positions previously, but that the week just before that presentation, we were at our annual elections training. And I don't like to come to the board unprepared, and I was not prepared, and we were trying to do it via phone, and I said, just move us, we're not prepared yet, so that's why it's here a little bit later. I'd like to address the 2024 election staff request first. I believe the commissioners remember, of course, during the pandemic when things were really changed, I come to the board and said that year, really, commissioners, I need unlimited access to as many as needed as possible, which you granted to, hopefully live within our budget. But if not, we still had a lot of increased work volume. And we did do that, and it went off successfully. There was a significant amount of changes. Of course, in 2024, we have the presidential preference primary that for the first time, actually not the first time in my tenure, that we've had a presidential preference primary. They did have one about
1994, I believe.
1994. So yeah, it's been a while. Generally, those are run by the parties, but this year it is, of course, up to the election officials across the state. I've been doing some research, of course, regarding my budget request coming before the board, which will be on Thursday. And Elizabeth and I went back and the election cycle on elections budgets are never consistent, like other departments. You can't go back to the previous year and really see where it was, because a city school election is smaller than a state election smaller than a federal. So I went back to 2020 to see, and back then we used 6% in overtime. Our budget in the clerks and elections and all of us basic general departments, we budget 3% for overtime. I went well over. And so that's what I requested to Elizabeth this year, say, hey, for 2024, we got to budget more in overtime in the elections department. Just if we had just had the standard primary and general election. But now I'm going to have to increase the 2024 election budget at least $70,000 to $80,000 because we have another election. Yes, it is true. The state legislature did appropriate monies and say they will reimburse us, but they're limited on what they will reimburse us for. They're not going to pay for any overtime, commissioners. We can submit it, but they won't pay for it, and it will cause overtime. And so next question is, well, if you're going to get it reimbursed, why do you need it? Well, we have to spend it ahead of time. And one of the specific questions that Susan can attest to at our conference that we just had, asked Brian Caskey, the Secretary of State's office, well, will we get reimbursed for it in 2024? He goes, good question. So, but just like, when we have a natural disaster emergency, even though if we get reimbursed, we have to pay the bills when the bills are due, and that's ahead of when we get reimbursed. Actually, traditionally, when I first started in this position, which has been about 3 decades ago, Commissioner Ford, I always budgeted for an additional election each budget cycle, because the propensity of special elections, school bond election, city bond election. I forget what year it was probably around 2000 or 2004. Budgets were tight, and I told the commissioners, here's the deal. I said, I'll take out that third election cycle that I always budget for, as long as the commission remembers, when I come to you and need the money, I need the money, because I don't have the option to not conduct the election. And so that's how it's been ever since then. I have not ever budgeted for another special election in the election budget since that time. But we know we have to budget for this, lack of a better word, special election, because the state legislature has mandated we're going to do this. I can tell you, commissioners, you have all the documentation in front of you. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but just kind of hit some points that I think that are very relevant. Senate Bill 221, the cleanup bill. It's huge. There's over 65 sections of statutory changes, plus new election laws going in place. Plus, I don't know if any of you have heard of this state legislative audit committee. Of course, we're one of the 13 counties that was selected to be so fortunate as to participate in that. Susan can tell you, there's not much that gets under my skin more than that group, and I would love to have a session with that legislative committee, not just the employees that are conducting it. But it has created a tremendous amount more work for elections because we're going through this audit. But it does, what they are doing is basically trying to develop a best practices for all counties to follow. And so even though they're not in law, and that's what we're pointing out to them, because you will see there'll be a public report that's going to go out after the post audit, after this legislative committee does all their work in these 13 counties. And it's going to show, in their opinion, and I emphasize their opinion, what they think this county's doing really well, what they're not doing as well, what they need to improve. A big thing that they're saying is, you know, they want every time commissioners from this point forward, according to the state, although it doesn't state it in law, and I've made them very aware, and our responses to the survey were, we do everything according to Kansas statute, and we do everything according to Kansas election standards. They are going to say that we need to have, every time we come into the secure area for election equipment, say it's, I don't know, we need pins or whatever, because we store some over there. We have to send 2 people over. And we got to have verification that 2 people were there to verify that Rich Vargo went in there and didn't do something funny with the equipment, even though everything is camera monitored on the security systems. They're going to point out deficiencies they believe in our security systems, whether it's hardware and software, but also individuals not keeping track of each other in anything regarding elections. So this has created a lot of time. It's going to create a lot more work time needed in the future, along with many aspects in there. You will see tracking all election equipment. That's what I'm talking about there with that legislative audit committee. One of the bullet points, dual election officials present for increased secured areas. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Dual verifications and sign-offs for all election processes. We have these little stickers. They're little red stickers that we put over sealed areas where we don't want ballots going or access doors on the election equipment. We didn't keep track of those individual numbers on each piece of equipment because when they're tampered with, if they're moved, it becomes disoriented and you can tell it's been tampered with. But now, not only do we have to put them on there, we have to put down the number of each one of those little tags, and there's 2 tags at least on each.
There's 3 tags, and each one of those serial numbers has to be tied to the serial number on the machine. So you've got to track that, and as you take those off after you deploy and process, you have to reaffix new ones, and you have to keep track of those to the serial number.
And then they'll also want our field judges and also I would imagine our noxious weed staff who's going to deliver equipment. There's probably going to have to be dual verification on that end as well, delivering and picking up. The workload is tremendous on what they've increased. I'd like for the commissioners to tell me in local government, even federal government, any issue that is more contentious in this world right now than elections and election security. I'm listening, Commissioner Ford.
Welcome to signs.
I don't know. I don't know that there is. Yeah,
To me.
Yeah.
that's just locally. You know, we are under scrutiny from individuals, special interest groups, state government, federal government. Here's what's kind of ironic to me. I think it's just tremendously hilarious how our state legislators and this legislative audit committee don't trust election officials to conduct elections and are putting all these processes in place because they don't trust us. But you do such a good job. Can you do the presidential preference primary for us? Because we don't believe anyone else can do it any better. So, commissioners, I can tell you the workload, and I would really tell you to ask Elizabeth and Daryl, who's been through one, and Lori, not Susan, the work that it takes to do an election in our office, the resources, how chaotic it can be, because they are the ones, and it's been that way since I've been in office. That's a mandate. If you're going to work in the clerk's office, you're going to help with elections because the workload's that big and we don't have enough full-time staff to do it. That's been a mandate from every HR, payroll, accounts payable person we've ever had. Comes election time, and we're very fortunate in Riley County because all of our departments they have staff that volunteer to assist us, and department heads are willing to bend over backwards. We get the almost complete IT department during elections, and also the entire noxious weed department and several other employees. So we're very fortunate. But it has just grown, and with the animosity regarding elections, to where we have to, and we always do, dot our i's and cross our t's, but there are increased standards and policies that we're going to have to follow that take personnel time. And we are busting at the seams. So that's what it is regarding the election staff. What I'm asking for is to get it one more in 2024, a full-time election staff member, and then another as needed. Because what that means is then we'll still have our one that's in the clerk's office that does the other functions of the clerk's office of the front counter. So that individual can focus more solely on just elections. There's another issue to kind of help that, and if we can direct traffic to just kind of 2 customer service people, but that's, I'll get to that at the end of the next presentation, because all of these with the election staff and the HR payroll just compounds exponentially our facilities needs. So on the elections staffing, did it stand for any questions commissioners have?
When
You
is the presidential primary?
March
19.
19th.
Coming up a little bit.
And I didn't go over the stats. You can see staffing wise where we sit compared to others. And you know, if I'm a county commissioner, I'm sorry, sat with numerous of you, so I somewhat think like county commissioners. I'm thinking, okay, why do you putting yourself with the larger counties? It's the same reason we put ourselves, the why KAC puts us with the larger counties when we're having our groups is Riley County. We do things more like the larger counties, more progressive, more modern technology, want to always be at the lead of everything. And we always have been my entire career. Riley County, Shelley just discussed our great public works facility. Every one of our departments is looked at as a lead in the state. And we get contacts from others because we try to do things right. And so that's why, and you have to remember, you know, with Riley County, our population is lower than a lot of those, but another one I call Commissioner McKinley a lot, and I did on this election, on the HR part, was Leavenworth County. Janet Lozinski there, she's been a long-term, well, she's been a county clerk as long as I have. And because we do things, our processes are similar to the larger counties. You know, we may not have the population of some of those that are bigger than us, but I contend our service volume for all of the departments is equal to some, probably Douglas County, close to, because we have Fort Riley and the university. That just creates that many more people in and out that we're having to do voter registration for, motor vehicle for, you name it. And so we actually have a much larger service area than just our base population. So stand for questions and elections.
Well, on this one, you're saying new position plus a half a position.
Mhm.
Except on this summary sheet, the next one down, it says you want from 3.5 to 4.
Well, I'm sorry.
Well, that's in elections. That's what I said was the last part, because the other half of that position is keeping that clerical position in the clerk's office. So it's actually because half of the position is really serving in clerks and elections right now, the full time. So we want a full-time for solely elections and keep the full-time one all over in clerks. It's one new body that we need. It is confusing.
Okay.
It is confusing.
And this position that you're seeing up there is an administrative position that we're wanting to give more responsibility to because of the new demands that elections is requiring, that they need to be able to be compensated for it rather than on their pay scale that they are right now. And so that first election guide coordinator position is one that we already have, but we're wanting to create it into a different position so it meets the needs of elections for 2024 as opposed to back in the early 2000s when it was created.
But you're still keeping the halftime one? Or the,
Well, these additional positions, it's much more, the third bullet down there, additional positions. Those are additional as needed.
that's the part-time.
Part-time.
Before you had 5, you're saying you need 10
Mhm.
now. Okay, that.
Yeah.
That's still
Those are
not.
not-
The elections it is confusing.
Yeah, like I said, it looks, sounds
Because-
like you're adding 1.5 and you're adding half.
A half full-time.
Yeah,
It
there's a
is.
transition from the.
You're taking a half to
Uh-huh.
full-time, but then the other one you're saying is still gonna be half-time. So why isn't it 4.5 now?
No, there's one person, so in that one that says new position, there's a person and a
Right.
position,
Yeah.
but it will be changed to a different position, so not
Yeah.
adding.
Right,
And then that other, the second one the half will come all the way over to elections, and so there'll be that full position will be in elections, not in clerk.
And I apologize, Commissioner, on that confusion. That's something it is not clear, and we were trying to figure out the best way to present it to you, but basically what it is we have one full-time position that's serving half clerks, half elections. It's budgeted in clerks, so we want to keep that budgeted in clerks, but we need to budget one more full-time one in elections, is the easiest way to look at it. I apologize for that confusion, though.
Yeah.
So full-time, we just need one more full-time person, and that'll be solely dedicated to elections, and then we'll keep the one that's currently budgeting clerks.
still looks like, so you're going to 4.5 now. You're keeping the half-time person, or they're not gonna be doing anything with elections.
No, we're just
That's half.
increasing the number of as needed is what we're doing.
Right,
We already have the halftime person. We just want more of them available during
right,
the
yeah, you
key,
want it full-time.
key times of elections. And it won't be just one body, it'll be multiple bodies. But yeah, they wouldn't be full-time on payroll. The as needed additional positions.
Yeah, just extra.
Mhm. It is confusing, apologize for that.
They're maxed out at 1,000 hours per person.
Right.
You could put 10 people in those 4,000 hours, but they can't, not one person can go over 1,000, and they would not have any benefits.
But then there would be technically 4 in there.
There could be, yeah, that's the,
Correct.
and that's why,
Total in that 60,000 or 60,000 per.
no, that's the total request for that,
Oh, yeah.
4,000 hours. Times $15 an hour plus 7.5%.
Okay.
Federal and state taxes that we have to pay.
Yeah, the 60,000 would be for all the as
Yeah,
needed,
that's all the asking.
not individually, they'd be full-time then.
Yeah, they just make $15 an hour, and so that's why I put the 4,000 hours for that group.
And what, I assume you've had those in before, how many hours have you had before? You just had 2,000 hours. and that's
Yeah,
before?
no, we have.
Are you talking about past years?
Yeah, just the as needed, the as needed positions.
Sure. I mean, what we have budgeted now that we can utilize is 5,000 hours. So we
Yeah.
have 5 positions at 1,000.
Oh, so you got any more, this is in addition to.
Right.
This is in
that's-
addition.
That's
That's what I was
in
clear.
addition.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Any other questions on the elections, commissioners? Okay, if I move on to human resources payroll. Okay, next, commissioners, is the human resources payroll. Once again, I'm not gonna read through everything. Something that's just the whole basis premises of personnel and HR. Once again, through my 3 decades, it used to be unusual when someone would leave the county. It was like a big deal, if someone's leaving the county. I tell you, since the pandemic and ever since then, it just seems, these younger generations, they don't tend to want to have the longevity that I think our generations did, from my generation to older than me. They're more apt to move around. That just exponentially creates an increased amount of work in the HR payroll era. HR, it never used to be. HR does attend the majority of all interviews, and we would like to have enough staff where they attend all interviews to be sure things are done appropriately. A lot of times HR has the questions that are asked by departments, but I've heard of other people getting interviews at other places, and I've even seen some questions here that departments want to ask, and those can put you in legally hazardous situations, commissioners, just because Elizabeth or a staff member may know of the list that they're going. If someone inadvertently asks something, if a representative of HR who's educated in it can say, oh, we can't ask that and you don't need to answer that question. It can save us from some huge potential liability and Shelley getting a lot more work than she needs. And so, that's part of the role of HR. It's just the transition, training and development. We've been in, since prior to Elizabeth, Cindy Volante, that we started amping up training and development, and Elizabeth's taking it to another level, but we still have a ways to go on training and development from your frontline new person. Commissioner Ford, says we need to do something different, maybe, to help keep and retain. Well, maybe that's one way we can meet with new employees more often and say, hey, is everything going well? Here's the real benefit, remind them of the real benefits of having this good job and the potential for promotions within to get somewhere rather than having to go somewhere else. And so it's just a whole different world. Compliance, just like elections, compliance in the HR world forever has been changing and getting amped up, and more requirements that are needed to follow. Like to point out that as it says, we had 172 regular employees in 2005. The adding of the health department at 47, the adding of EMS at 53 is very significant. We didn't increase staff at that time, commissioners. And that's something I really wanted to start out the whole discussion with that I forgot to is, in my tenure, which next year will be my 28th year in this position, the clerk's office has not added any additional personnel to the county organization. There have been a couple of positions that have been brought to the office, but it was not creating a new position in the county. Commissioner Ford's always challenging us, we got to do more with what we got or more with less. And, my dad told me, one of his big concerns when I got in this position was the politics. And then he said, personnel will be your biggest challenge. You ask any department head, personnel is the biggest challenge. And so I've always tried to run lean and mean and not have more personnel that I had to supervise and manage. Others, it seems like, want to add personnel. I never have. I tend to try to find great people and overload them. And that's what I do. It's honestly, ask them. I'm honest to them about it. Because I can trust in what they do. They do a good job on one thing, do a good job on everything. And so I overload them. It's come to the bursting point, commissioners. We have only been able to maintain the level that we're at for so long because of technology. I've told many commissioners this. How do we do it? Technology. Technology's helped us a lot. It has, and to this point, and technology is creating more. Now regarding both HR and payroll. OpenGov creates more work. It's another system that we have to take care of. Changing to a new payroll system. There's always new projects that are coming up all the time. And if you're going to continue to be at the best, and no matter what division it is, whether it's tax and Lori's, elections and Susan's, and HR and payroll, you got to continue to grow. I can tell you, commissioners, if I wasn't adaptive to change, I would have not lasted in this position as long as I have, because things have changed a lot in my 32 years at the county, starting at it as the accountant. They have changed tremendously. As you know, Eileen King and myself transitioned the first computer system in Riley County for tax accounting and payroll. First one ever. I was from the ground up. So I've seen all of those changes. Huge here, I think we kind of think is the volunteer fire and elections is, they're just part-time. They only help that creates a tremendous amount of work, because you have to do all the same stuff as far as what's termed on here as onboarding for those individuals as you do a full-time staff member. It takes a lot of work, and they're very transitionary, and I contend they create more work than most full-time staff positions, because they're changing. We'll have them change 3 times next year with the presidential preference primary, and a general election. Sure, the majority of them will stay the same, but there's going to be a sizable group that's going to change each one of those. And I'm going to ask HR to do it. They came to us last year and said, hey, we're really busy. Can elections do this part for getting these new election people on, I said, election's a swamp right now too. Sorry, you guys have to do it. And that's just where it's at. And I said, don't ask Elizabeth, commissioners, ask these other supervisors here. They live with these guys every day and they see the workload. And also regarding the HR and the payroll position, I would say, don't ask Elizabeth, ask these others. How I got here, commissioners, I got all of my supervisors together, and just how I do interviews as well, and said, where do you think we are staffing? What do you think we need to look at? And the first thing wasn't out of Elizabeth's mouth, it was out of Susan's and Lori's. We need more HR. They didn't speak about themselves. They said, we need more HR. When HR's not there, they get the phone calls and see the request or see people walk in. So, there's a bunch of national statistics on here, commissioners, and I quite honestly kind of get nauseated with national and regional statistics. I go based on what we need. I don't really care what others are doing, but we're at the point where we have to expand. You see all of the information there. Leavenworth County, I talked to Janet as I talked to, she says, you need to have at a minimum 3 full-time people in HR. And I value what Janet says, and they're a very comparable sized community to us. You see our staffing ratios 0.68 compared to 1.22. Like I said, I don't always look at national stuff, but that is a very relevant and valid comparison. I would specifically point out City of Manhattan commissioners. Look where they're at, 6 HR and payroll staff, full-time employees, 420. That ratio is 1.43. I thought what was really telling to me, Pawnee Mental Health, RCPD, Atchison County, who's much smaller than us. It takes a lot of resources, and what commissioners have to remember is we're servicing all departments. We're not just taking care of our department. We're a service department, just like IT GIS is for all the departments. To keep the organization running smoothly, IT GIS in our department has to have these resources to do it. That way others can do the job they need to be doing, which is appraisal work, treasure work, not worrying about payroll and HR, because we've got a handle for them. You can see these are some, staff availability. Department heads have discussed concerns, FMLA, ESL annually, payroll questions, personnel manual, recruiting. Recruiting is much more exhausting than ever before. It used to be, even within probably just 10 years back, you advertise a job and you got a lot of people, and especially, some of the higher level positions, you always got good quality people. Nowadays, you got to go find them. Commissioner McKinley said he had someone that might be interested in the job. And like I said, that's what we have to do now. We have to know people that know someone so we can go after someone now. Maybe they're not looking. That's happening all the time, especially at department head level. And I would say 2 to 3 levels down from there. The entry level, there's pretty good. There's still a pretty good group, although there during the pandemic, we weren't getting any for anything, but now at least it's bumped up on the lower levels. So you can see what we're asking for is an HR generalist position, which is new, and a payroll technician position, which is new. And stand for any questions, because I'm about out of time, commissioners, and I'd be glad to. And commissioners, I know the budget process. I don't necessarily expect a definitive answer today, but wanted you guys to understand why we come before you. This isn't something I take lightly, bringing before the commission. Related to this intricately is space needs. I have some ideas for space needs. Commissioner Ford, at least I know, knows. I contend we need to find a different location for elections. That helps us in that space over there to where we could do HR and payroll differently, even with some different entrances and stuff, and expand their area and enough room for a new position. But get elections to a place where they're in the same building as the election equipment.
We got an empty floor here.
You're not going to like my answer.
Oh.
The best spot is right here.
Oh,
People come in and out, but the only bad thing about this spot, commissioners, for elections, is honestly, is parking. But this is the best place, easy access for staff for election equipment in and out. Commissioners are here twice a week. I know that's not popular, and I wasn't in favor of it because it was actually another department that had suggested it 6 months ago or so, and I said, commissioners need to be on the first floor, but we need easy access to our equipment and the public needs easy access to elections. The only downfall of this location is parking, because that's not our parking lot. I'd love, a location that's come to mind is the Manhattan Arts Center. I'd love a spot like that that's got its own facility with lots of adequate parking. It's something that Jamie Shu and Douglas County just did. They're renting space away from the county offices, which he said they caught some flack on, but once people saw that they didn't have to stand in line outdoors, the community bought in, and I am extremely jealous of Jamie Shu and Douglas County's facility that he has right now with all his election equipment and election staff there. But we have some huge facilities needs. It is, and I'll just say it, Commissioners, it's embarrassing that we have to conduct the election process in the facilities that we have with all our other offices right now, and especially the tenor of elections right now. Everything's secure, but it doesn't look good, and there's not enough room. There's just flat out not enough room. But it's been a problem that you didn't create or I didn't create. It's been an issue that county commissions have kicked down the road, frankly, for 3 decades, because my very first commission I served with, it was a priority, was the new facilities. Any questions, commissioners? I'd be glad to come back additionally to talk about it, but I have exhausted my time. Okay, thank you. It's time for not Craig Cox, Shelley Glitter. Okay. Ma'am?
And yes, okay, go ahead.
So we don't have a whole lot to talk about today. We do at 1:30 have a court hearing on the tax sale to hopefully get kind of our final judgment on that and keep that moving along. So that usually runs pretty smoothly. We're anticipating it should today as well. I don't have, I'm not aware of anything that we're expecting to come up with that. So that's really the big thing we have today. As you know, most of the county councilors are out today. And so again, I'll be taking care of that. I think we'll be meeting with the I think I'm an animal control officer this afternoon, kind of looking into that as well, or just kind of seeing where things are going on that. But that's the big stuff right now. I don't think we have, at least not that I'm aware of, anything else big going on this week. So I apologize if I'm missing anything, but I wasn't planning on being the one to give you this information today. So this is a last minute change, thankfully for happy and good reasons. Do you have any questions for the county councilor's office that I might be able to answer?
No. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next commissioner, you have Amy Banks at 10:30. Hi, Amy, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Raining out there or anything?
Oh, it's a little misty. For a month and 3 days, I'm finally getting furniture today, so I think it stops this afternoon.
Oh.
I'm
That'd be
tired of
my
sitting
luck.
on a lawn chair. I didn't realize it was gonna take so long to replace the furniture. We thought we should go ahead and get rid of it.
Yeah, I did that 3 years ago in the midst of the madness, and I ordered it in early May and didn't get it until Labor Day.
Yeah, I guess I just assumed that we were more back to normal.
No, I don't.
I mean, it's not as bad as it was.
Yeah, it's
Only been a
back
month,
north,
but-
so in a lot of areas.
It's gonna take a long time, long time.
Yes.
I don't quite understand. I still see the car lots. That's what surprised me. I thought they were getting caught up, and they're still no new cars.
They're filling a lot. If you notice that they spread the cars out, and
Spread them
turn them and
But
they
if you
turn them
look,
different.
you know, you'll go by a gym and it's a Dodge, a Toyota. They're just any used car they can get to sell.
I got another call about my former truck
Really.
last week. They're calling about your, I said, I haven't done that
Well,
since
I'm
August. I
not
traded it in for a new one.
I get emails.
You guys called the first time.
Get an email that says your truck may be worse.
And I'm like, don't ask about the new one because,
I had trouble with my TV. What happened to it? It was working the night before, I went to turn it on in the morning. Unplugged the router, unplugged, finally unplugged the TV and it was fine. It was working, everything was working on the phone, so it's kind of strange.
Okay.
Yeah, usually, it said, I had to go completely reset the whole thing. I don't know what,
It is. It's okay. How was your day? Nice.
I realized it's only 3 channels. At least you
Yeah,
know,
I'm sporting my new.
Turn it on, you want this. Yeah, wait.
Yeah, I have a second.
He got, I did, I mean, it's really nice.
Yeah.
And so when you got out this one.
I have to turn that one first. The TV one. The funny thing
I
about
think it
it,
goes perfect.
or when I turn it off, sometimes at nighttime. It
Yeah, I
all of a
think you look
sudden,
right
it's on like standby and then you hear this.
Minimum case, man.
That's who's in the house. It'll play a little bit stupid this time.
I can't.
Because we're basically.
It's gonna turn on this one and turn on this and then turn
Yeah,
on
it's
this one.
like greenhouse with the screen.
I think we're over there with.
Okay, yes, so yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. You guys ever?
my daughter has no problem.
No, we never have. Is that?
I have a problem. I call.
I don't know which one, but it's not residential for me.
Fish there
Yeah, we've seen
every
it.
day, all day.
No, I'm
I
good.
spent a phone calls.
We, in our walks, we've seen people fishing there, but it's just cold. Just feel like all the runoff from all those houses.
I would never eat it. I mean, I guess it would be fun for the kids, but
Yeah, you can,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, no, we haven't. Kind of, if he takes boys fishing, it goes to, you know, we've never been involved. Well, I haven't. Yeah.
It's not raining.
Gotta like get organized.
John's got a fun day after all this, he was on with his budget today.
Yeah, I think I really enjoyed.
It's like I'm not on there this year.
Yeah.
And it's fun to kind of.
I'm surprised he wanted to go back on it again.
Catch fish and fly off. And deep for geese that come in.
So you have a view right there.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, we have a privacy fence along the side and then it's an iron fence.
Oh, so you can see
along the front, so yeah.
That's the thing about privacy. It's just, I just feel like everything's closed in, if you're closed in inside the privacy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the perfect amount of privacy.
Yeah.
You don't see what the neighbors are doing next door, you can see the pond and.
There's definite benefit to that. I don't use my neighbors in my yard either, but
You know,
yeah. I kind of like, I mean, to be honest, I like stars is because, you know, obviously it's a farmhouse, but the whole backside is where all the new homes are. And so that's all kind of like fenced off with other people's privacy. And then the whole front is just like this field. And so you just feel like, then we got an eagle's nest, you can see the creek, you see the field, the creek, there's the eagle's nest over there, bald eagle's nest, that we can kind of watch that there. And yeah, you just feel like it's covered. But all the rest of it is really fenced. And it just.
Yes.
Yeah, more private, but also just more open space. You know, those-
Oh, we looked at some. We went out the back door and we had like.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't get that, because a lot of.
Yeah, and then you had the fence and then on the other side, I mean.
Yeah.
It was just too close and it just they all butt up each other and.
Well, we used to live on post quite a bit, and one house related, it was like. We were in a place where there's privacy. And you know, in the back behind it was this, like huge grass pasture area, you know, you could play in like. You could, it wasn't open.
just very small. It wasn't even big enough to really have a real lawnmower. You know, we were talking about an electric one, like.
Back up after you stay here.
You could have, and I used to have one of those. But there's some, and I used to have one of those like that. If you have time. And I told her.
Well, there's backyard.
Yeah.
It's not very. Probably.
Yeah, she did. Why? The only bad part is you just have to keep the blades so sharp because you're not really moving fast enough for them because the grass is kind of like not even. Yeah, whereas you know, the electric one just moves a lot better. The gas one just moves faster.
You know, it's too much.
Yeah. It was.
One of the other times that when you lay down the.
Yeah, I got too. It's hard to even keep the motion on that place.
My old neighbors, they're both military, and I think they're real, what's conscious. But, they know, I don't even know what you call it. It almost reminds me of the kids' potty toys. It has.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about.
Just the battery ones.
Yeah.
This isn't even a battery, it's like got
Or the
the,
old electric motors.
it's, I don't know, it looks like it's got like this and cylinder and you just push it across the grass and it.
Okay, but is it the kind that, like, the wheels turn the blades, or is it kind of like you plug it in?
No, I think it's the old fashioned where.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. today.
Blades are in there in a cylinder,
Mhm.
and then by the speed you push the wheels, they turn the blade.
Yeah.
And that's why if you don't keep them super sharp, it's not, they're only moving at the speed you're walking.
Okay.
So then your grass will get, for me, it gets a little like different sizes.
Yeah, and they lived on the corner, so they had a decent spot to do. And that's
Yeah.
always really.
But it's good exercise.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're heavy, but you have to follow it, you know, there's no other momentum, it's just, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that, if I had more time, I would be, I would do this stuff out.
Yeah, you just give me,
Yes,
the free on the other.
yeah, I get my Roomba and put it out on my grass, yeah.
There's,
I know,
it's just like that.
I've seen one, I mean,
What else you got?
Yeah.
We have one around that over here. Or, no, it's on scenic.
Oh, this.
I don't know if they keep one out here or not.
you just, just there, I have never known. How come nobody steal it?
Well, it probably has a.
Well, yeah, we'll have to.
So, whoever, yeah.
But crazy,
Well, I know.
that's risky.
With
I-
a GPS tracker in it.
I feel like everybody will have those eventually, but my kid should be more than one. He just likes it and he is.
Says.
Yeah, I really actually enjoy it. My husband was laughing, he's sitting here, he's like, you never love on it, it's true.
Yeah, I used to.
I like being outside, I like walking the grass, when it snows.
Love this now. I don't mind mowing, but I never do.
Exactly. I don't get to it.
Like I went to use my husband's black stuff. Cause I don't like anybody. Feel particular about it. So I always tell them, get out of my life. Protect my life. So, yeah, I went to use his black stuff. I walked in the driveway.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna, yeah. Look up my water.
He's like, he's got a crazy.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Did you get him to do the task for you then?
Thanks. Oh, they're doing James.
I don't know. We haven't even, we really all enjoy gardening too.
So I'm off all.
Yeah. Always did something because then they.
My doctor, especially say like that, I want that how to be. You have to stop taking my.
Didn't have, I mean, we had these parts of the country because.
Exactly.
Communities, your grass issue, everything else.
And I think as you get older, then, you know, that becomes more. Prevalent to think about that. But yeah, here and then that. Yeah. There was one other place where I thought. And I'm.
Years ago. This year, yeah.
And see, like, I don't feel like, since I really always here and I kind of, where did the first year? Kind of like, I don't know what your experience is, I don't feel like I know. I can't like tell the experience, like I can't tell if they would, which is the season, how's it coming, I'm just like, oh my god, I wake up, I'm like, oh my god, my eyes itch, my throat's raw, what's going on?
Well, what we're saying is. Then your immune system.
My doctor says that's not true. But it's so
Oh,
gross.
I can tell you the doctor, but it happens all the
I
time.
agree, and then that stuff just like sits in there because it's all draining from your allergies and you get infection. Yeah, and that's what caused me to go to the person because I kept getting. Like,
Nasal.
Yeah.
Good job, good study.
I just don't know how it's not like. Obviously. You ever used to measure, oh, I had, you know, just sat my son and I go, is it not, is it, you know, she should go there.
For the pennies. Those were
Really?
great.
Yeah.
It takes a while to teach them, but after that, we're actually really good.
It is kind of weird initially.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know how people do it with the actual, with the school. It's like, the salaries. I have one from the military. I don't know how you get it.
Oh, yeah,
It is out.
that's, I have the
Yeah,
teapot looking one, you just stick it in there and lean your head, and it just goes.
yeah, I have this like school, like the same thing that's the school shot, and I'm like, thank God I got this. I don't know how that other stuff works.
Gravity.
Yeah, I guess.
I think the cheese model is good.
It is super easy. It's super easy. I'm thinking about that.
Well, for me, because I had, you know, I do it right after the laws or something like that. It just seems quicker to break this.
Yeah, the only thing I wonder is that because you're squeezing it, I think that you should be a little more gentle, because like that, you have a little bit of gently close to there. But it's a squeeze one, pressuring through it.
Yeah.
And it's just.
Yeah.
That's no idea. I mean, it can be worse part.
Well, I'm sure. I'm not in line for that either. God.
Well, if you can, I would recommend getting a.
So I've been thinking next. Something like that, but next name or something like that. I don't know, but I have asked like two pills and then that, but
Because it seems helpful, I mean, I take allergy medicine, but then if you know you're gonna be in an
Yeah.
allergy situation, you just kind of.
I have to, but
I
Keep hitting me.
I don't know, I feel like I'm gonna get it.
Which is a little close.
Get it right down. My general practitioner, and this, you know, see that thinks it.
It's out here.
And then pass through this.
Chair, yeah.
I just felt like it's not, they said, oh, well,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like that.
That was a little less.
It's turning. It's draining.
Well, it comes out a bit more than it probably
And
used
they
to.
said, I just feel it. Because your throat's for something. You have this theory that it's-
Scoot this forward a little bit.
But that's- I'm like, okay, well, maybe.
Just
but
came apart and tried to
I
be
feel like-
just this morning when I came in, but I didn't do it real well.
I just-
I didn't wanting to.
Wants to go this way.
Well, and I did tell him, like, my coach, it's.
Yeah, I should go.
I did that. I didn't know. He said, well, that's great. I think it's 7.
It's all raining.
That's what I see too. They said, oh, it's the gas. Well, it's good.
It just goes.
Tomato motto.
That's why in the evening, we'll now sleep in the chair at night. Because it don't break it. Quite as bad as the morning. Really bad days. Oh, you know, a lot of people sort of sleeping in recliners or a raised bed. I should get used to that.
Is this, having done that, when my sister had the surgeries, I moved in the nursing home for a week at a time, was. I found myself in a recliner for about many days. I was.
Not 3 days.
And 30.
Good morning, Mangus, registered. All right, I'm here today with the 2024 registered deeds budget. Minus salaries, the registered deeds budget for next year reflects a 3% increase. Or 1,750 in the 3 Cs over the 2023 budget. The line items, actually, most of our line items are either the same or slightly reduced. Our one area of increase this year is furniture. I've been slowly replacing as we've had extra tech money coming in. I've paid more of our services that I could out of the tech fund to leave some money over for furniture. Ours is about 20 years old. It's been moved 3 different times and it's on its last leg. Out of the total request of 60,875, 35,000 is actual monies that are collected during the reporting process and not funded by the county. They're just shown in my budget because it is a payment out. And as for my tech fund, I have to zero that out, but I don't have to spend it every year. And I'm guessing I'm going to have about 65 to $80,000 in expenditures. And those are just our maintenance fees, any kind of technology purchases. We do help some other offices with some of their technology for land records. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Next commissioner, you have Bear Wolf, 10:45.
Big stairs, sir. Big stairs.
Yes, yes, I'm gonna set him up for success. Thank you.
Like the presenter is Barry Wilders. Who is that?
He's kind of a wild guy, so
He changed his name.
we got a misspelling on your name up here, Mr.
Wilders.
Wilder son.
This builder spelling test.
I told him you're kind of a wild guy, so it might fit. Morning, Barry.
Morning. I've been described the other way, so that's all right.
Doing anything out?
You what?
Is it raining out or anything? Not really.
Sprinkling maybe a little bit. I didn't get wet walking over here, so.
Yep. It's showing. Yeah, this one's pretty much laid out anyway. but-
Sure, yours. One of the things was showing how many employees added on, first look at it, it says 172, now it's 270. Because they had, was the health department kind of like the RCPD then, it was kind of its own,
Yeah, they were not on our payroll.
but we just had.
Remember, they were, I don't know if you remember, but they were funded 55% by Riley County appropriation, 45% by the city of Manhattan.
I didn't know what it was in. I knew they were, and I didn't know, but they was completely,
Yeah.
county just gave them a certain amount of, kind of like RC.
And that was kind of the problem, that's one thing I agreed with in that change, and the city had brought it up, the director at that point really had no one boss to answer to. And there had always been issues and concerns and no one to really, guide, for lack of a better word, the department in a better, different direction. And so that was one good thing about it, because someone with 2 or 3 bosses a lot of times doesn't have a boss. And so, with it being under Riley County, I think that was one good thing that was a change. But that 45% appropriation given to us by the city of Manhattan in less than 6 months. And we asked them to, well, no, wait for the beginning of the year, and they said, no, too bad. Was not good, but
So what do they give us now?
nothing,
Zero,
zero,
even for services.
zero.
That's a deal.
For them, what?
Yeah. Could have been under, okay.
Kind of sound like animal control, maybe?
And what is it gonna, have you heard anything, John, on the animal control? So,
It's not done.
There's something on the.
No, Mike Gillespie is just gonna give his legal.
Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, it's not a discussion. Legal. Something.
I'll take all right.
Better not.
Barry, even you could not smile on that one.
I'm set through
Good luck with that.
I don't know. I don't think it could be worse than last month's. I walked away with a headache, literal headache, but.
Yeah, I had to go to court at 2:30. I missed about a third of the law board meeting. It went so long. What I was told.
Most of it's just the budget. It should be pretty quick and painless, I think.
Vote out yet, Barry? Bishop,
Not like I'd like to.
me as well.
I'm ready for it to be March.
I'm with you there.
I wasn't ready for April and certainly not, I wasn't ready for May. I need to back it up,
Yeah.
so I get some more stuff done.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not how it works.
30 seconds.
Morning, Commission, Chairperson Foki, presented my budget for the 2024 fiscal year. As always, I do my best to try to predict what's going to happen, but it's certainly an uncertain science. I don't know how many crimes that are gonna be committed in the next 12 months, which really is what affects our 2024 budget, what would happen from now until around June of next year, as far as major expenses, preliminary hearings, trials, things of that nature. I guess the unforeseen ones, how many witnesses we're gonna have to call and where are those witnesses going to come from, which is really the big unknown in our office. I don't know if you want me to go through each of these items line by line or kind of hit some of the highlights. The biggest unknown is again is our witnesses, and we were asking for 40,000, which is what we asked for last year. In 2022, I believe that expense was around 34,000 is what we spent. I do believe we're getting at least caught up from the 2020-2021 year, COVID year. And so I do hope that will start to level out a little bit. That was item 2720. There, however, are two items that are really related. And we've got two ways to try to address the cost. One is in the 2410 line item repair maintenance of office equipment. What we have are printers, multiple printers that are different models. They're also getting old. They had copiers. They're requiring us to spend more money to repair to keep them going every year, which is resulting in an increase in the 2410 from last year, 15,000 to 20,000. That is where we predict that we will be, or what we will have to spend is in the neighborhood of $20,000. Give or take 1,000 if we continue to use and maintain that equipment. We have talked to Corey in IT about replacing those items. If we replace those items, then that money will be, a lot of that money will be in 4054, which is technology, hardware, new printers. So we've got really two areas where we're addressing the same cost or the same item in two different ways. And so one of those is going to come down. Either the 2410 will actually come down in what we spend, or the 4054 will come down. My best guess, and what we would like to do, and we'll continue to work with Corey, is replace those items because we're ordering toner for 2 or 3 different models of printers, 4 different models. It'd be cheaper if we just had one model so that we're ordering all the same and not shuffling. So I think probably we will try to spend the money in 4054, but if for some reason we can't, replace those printers and copiers, then we will be spending the money in 2410. But I just want to give if you read through the memorandum, we tried to spell that out, that we're gonna spend it in one of those two areas, but not both. So my best guess is that will result in a downward $10,000 in that neighborhood, $10,000 to $12,000 in what we're actually in our total budget of what we're requesting. Overtime, we're going to try to, in 2022, we spent $6,519. We budgeted $4,291 last year. We're going to try to stay in that $4,500 mark for overtimes. Most of that comes with staff during probably 80% of it, not all of it, but probably 80% of it is during trials when our victim witness coordinators have to stay late. Or go pick up witnesses, make travel arrangements, after hours, things of that nature. That's when we'll see a lot. That's a lot of overtime expenditures really occur in our office. Of course, the attorneys are exempt, so they're not getting any overtime, but this would apply to most of our victim witness coordinators and two other Ramsey Cuvey and Morgan Park, who do our trial presentation or work on our trial presentations. Sometimes they'll have to work, either come in early or stay late to work on putting the media for our trials together. So, but I think the $4,500, I think that's doable. I think we can keep it in that neighborhood fairly comfortably. Everything else is really related to either personnel or to what we anticipate to be some increases in some costs, postage and things of that nature. So, yeah, we did make phone calls out to our vendors, try to give you the most accurate numbers that we can for 2024, and that's what we've done. So, I don't know if you have any questions or there's some details you would like me to explain. I do go through each item line by line item. I just don't give a lot of 2% here or there. I try to really go through it and accurately estimate where we're going to be.
Well, the overtime, which is account 1005 on the spreadsheet. It shows 6587 24, but it shows 4291. And you were saying 4500, or am I in the wrong place?
What we're asking for is 4,500. In 2022, we spent $6,500, but I think that year was an anomaly. I don't think we're typically going to spend.
Okay.
That's on me. So that commissioners, Barry actually has the smallest percentages of overtime in the county. So he normally has 0.75%. So I use that amount, but I'll decrease it to 4,500.
Okay, yeah, because it showed 65.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I used his percentage, his traditional percentage, but I didn't do the presentation. So it's just communication between he and I. I'll reduce it down. I noticed the same thing. I thought, oh, we gotta.
Oh, no, I have a little fuzzy back here.
Yeah.
I try not to do that.
Yeah, we went back and forth about personnel, but we were focused on the salaries, and so
That's the other side.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't catch that.
no, that's okay. I didn't either, so I didn't see your presentation.
Funny, subscriptions double, is that added ones, or they just, that's what they're charging now?
That's kind of what they've gone up, and some were dropped and shouldn't have been last year, but for everybody in the office, not for everybody, but the attorneys to all have a subscription, with 7 attorneys to have subscriptions to those different resources.
Yeah, have you, on the technology, have you, looked at renting the equipment, the printers, as opposed to buying them outright? Has anybody looked at that?
Our copiers, I believe, are rented right now.
Well, that's why it's per year for 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
But our printers are not rented. Those are purchased. I mean, we'll work with Corey, whatever we can do that makes it, feasible, short term and long term. We'd be glad to do.
I don't have any more, so. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I'm welcome to come back if any questions could arise. So make myself available.
Thank you. 11 o'clock, Commissioner, you have Gina Snyder downtown Manhattan. Come on, Gina, not till 11, Gina, you got 5 minutes, but you won't stand up for 5 minutes.
I mean, do I get next for 5 minutes?
Thank
Thank you, commissioners.
The longer you talk, the more your money comes down.
That's very.
Good policy we need to implement.
Yes.
That's how you do it. Good.
So you guys thinking, I'm gonna go get ready for that hearing this afternoon, and I'll see you at noon with that
That's good.
thing. If something pops up, shoot me an email, I can come back down. But I was looking at this, like, I doubt you're gonna need me for the next couple of things. So. Grab that, so I'm assuming he's not showing up for that. I don't, I'm not gonna argue, because I don't know if he wants to come because he wants to get out of the house with everybody, or if he actually said that he felt obligated.
I don't know.
But I mean, it's something like harassing, so.
He does take the tax thing pretty seriously, so.
Exactly. So I was like, I'm not gonna argue with him.
Yeah.
He wants to drive all the way out here for that and drive back. He's a grown adult, just make those decisions.
Yeah.
So I have to think about all through it. We can be partial loss, and then I get to tell a judge that I'm not really ready for the journey we're about to have.
Somebody had some insurance for us. And this line,
Yeah, that was me.
you bring your this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You wanted to do this.
Save. You also have to switch, minimize the user there.
It's on the side.
It's on side. They'll check it out, IT upstairs. They see So there is sort of line. Yeah, but I feel it's not scary. That's yeah. One of the. So. Yeah.
Are you channeling?
She's right.
Thank you. Ready? Okay. Good morning, commissioners. Rich,
Good morning.
thanks for having us. Really quick before we get started, I just want to introduce some of the people that I brought with me. And this is Danielle. She's our event manager, but she also keeps me on track because you guys know that I like to talk. So she just clicks the button and that's how I know to go on to the next one. Also, with just raise your hand is Kirsten Harris. She's a community member at large on our board of directors and the former owner of the Chef Cafe. Next to her is Donna Shealy. She's vice president of United Bank and Trust and also the treasurer on the DMI board of directors. And over there is Jake Fagelli, and he is the owner of Manhattan Brewing Company and on our board of directors. So we'll just move through this pretty quickly. I know you all know our mission statement. You're real familiar with it. Just to recap quickly, we really try to hit on 3 points with our mission statement, and that is to create and maintain beautiful, user-friendly spaces and places, promote our businesses, and generate revenue, obviously, that then in turn supports the community and the region. This is just our board of directors. We're going to save this document for you so you can look back at any of this information at length. The impact that we make in Manhattan and the surrounding region is really quite significant. This is something else you can take time to peruse at your leisure. Just hitting on some key topics. We have 17 annual events and we bring approximately 18,000 people annually just through those events to the downtown district, which obviously generates sales tax. And then we work very hard to with our state and local representatives to create economic initiatives like the dining platforms. We're getting ready to create some new space in front of the mall, which is the city-owned plaza, which will also create a gathering space that will also help to generate revenue. So just constantly looking at those types of things that fit into the overall mission, but address all three of those, answer all three of those questions. And we are really grateful for our key partnerships with the CVB, the city, the county, Atabus, and independent businesses. Through some surveys that we've had this year, both through DMI and also through the city's down to Beyond Tomorrow long-range planning study, it's been indicated that third Thursday is the favorite family event. And people come to downtown for food and beverage. That's our number one reason for coming downtown. And then the thing that's really been we've worked really hard on this last one and really proud that we have near equal representation of all age groups and income levels. And it used to be that we just really touched upon young professionals and early retirees, but now we are seeing college students through some of our events. And we're really excited to be able to say that we are a place for everyone. This is our budget. You've seen it. It was included in your packet. And I'm just requesting the same amount of $5,000. The reason that we ask for $5,000 is simply because you have one of the largest footprints in the district, and we earmark that $5,000 towards beautification, towards groundskeeping, towards our flag program. You're part of the district. You have a forward-facing, beautiful courthouse, beautiful lawns and flower beds, and we want to just make sure that this entire 2-block area is well taken care of and maintained. So that's always what your money goes towards, and we're very appreciative of that. This is something else you can just peruse over for yourself. I do want to highlight one thing on this 5-year initiative, and that is that we have really stepped up our relationship with Atabus. We are very strong proponents for a feature called the District Loop that I'm hoping that you'll hear about from Ann. And it is a way to connect Aggieville and downtown together, parking garage to parking garage. With stops along the way. We think that could address parking issues that maybe people might have.
you park in the garage and you want to come down to the core, you want to go to Aggieville, it's a great way to share that sales tax revenue. So we're a proponent of that happening and hope that it does happen. So just wanted to point that out. Downtown goals and initiatives, really quickly. The top organizational processes and efficiencies, it's just really important to us that we started to focus on growing our own fundraising efforts, and we have done that. And it's only May, it's only May, and we've done some really good fundraising for ourselves, and it's the first time we've really ever tried to do this really wholeheartedly, and we've been successful. So really thankful for that, for those involved. Partnerships and sponsorships and collaborative efforts, because nothing down here would be possible without any of that. And our events and programming, obviously Danielle spends a lot of time considering events that are good for our community, for our patrons, for our audience, things like raising record amount of dollars for Johnson Cancer Research Center, for creating events that college students love, for creating events that live music folks love, for creating events that John Ford is going to enter this year. You know, just we try to address every segment of the population. Our occupancy is at 98%. It's probably higher than that, but I can't figure out how to calculate it. It's just, we don't have anywhere to go on the ground floor. It's absolutely amazing, and we're very, very limited in our upstairs space as well. This year we have still down from the COVID era, but way up 2,800 employees reporting in the downtown district, and that does not include any of the employees that work in the Manhattan Marketplace, which is over where Hy-Vee and Best Buy are located. It's too hard to keep track of. That's a very transient population over there. So this, at your own leisure, this shows the 35 new businesses that have opened this year. And I'm always proudest of the businesses that currently exist down here that expanded into larger spaces. And we have 3 of those businesses that did that this year. And we have 3 new businesses opening this summer yet. So look for those. Just another fun graph. Food, as you know, the reason they love to come down here, third Thursday is their favorite event. The one thing that folks point out consistently through all of the surveys is what is missing from our downtown is use of space. And that is why we are looking actually this week at this mall plaza and how to renovate it so that it is actually usable. We plan on pickleball, and we plan on live music events, and we just plan on this space being a place for people to gather. Just some photos from our events, and there's the 17 events that we are doing this year. We have a city commission candidate public forum that we always host. We're one of 4 in the community that does that. We're proud of our long tradition. And just last page and last sort of highlights, I've gone over most of this already, but we did very successfully start a corporate partnership program. United Bank and Trust, BHS, Fins, and Ameritrust have all come on board with $5,000 donations to support our mission towards all these things that I just talked about. Spirit of the Holidays Lighted Parade was voted the #1 annual parade, and I still need you guys to get in that one. And $5,300 was the largest amount that we've ever been able to raise for Johnson Cancer Research Center. Super proud of that. We had record number of runners this year. We are hosting the 2nd annual Juneteenth Art Walk. We've opened DMI has opened a gallery called 409 Gallery, and it is geared towards the local artists looking for a place to hang their work. So we're really excited about that. And we've recently commissioned a 60-foot mural. So proud of our efforts. And thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
Where does that plaza, how far does it come downtown?
I know that in that view, it looks like it's coming out into the street because there was a rendering where it would come all the way to into Third Street, stopping at the crosswalk, but we're not going to be doing that. We feel like we need that curb to be there just for safety purposes. So it's not gonna come out into the middle of the street. It'll stop where the current sidewalk is. There'll be
Gotta go back into the mall area.
Yeah, the way that the plaza is now is the exact dimensions
It is.
of how it will be. It'll just be leveled out so that it can all be usable space. There'll be some outdoor dining areas that are created for some new businesses that are coming in. And there'll be area for the biggest upgrades will come for audio visual capability. Right now, none of the plugs work. That was one of the reasons why Purple Power Plant points went away, was because we were using that plaza area and we couldn't even plug in because it was old wiring. And so we're getting a lot of upgrades that way, but you will hopefully, when you're standing in at Fourth and Points, you'll be able to seamlessly look down to Third and Points in the plaza area, and it'll look like an extension of our street with lots of activity going on there. We have a whole separate programming, a whole separate committee designed for this plaza and what will happen there.
Looks good.
Great. I'm glad. Thank you. Any other questions?
Good to go?
Do you all want a copy of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she just needs to know how to save it on here, I guess.
Actually, just email it to me, it'd be better. You didn't save it on our system.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I didn't even see you there. This is Jeff.
What?
Did you sneak in?
Oh, he was here the whole time.
This is Jeff Sutton. He's also on the DMI board of directors and is the marketing director at the mall.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Time does go, commissioners. Thank you, Bill.
I need to get that screen back over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I need some sort of bonus that she cut into my time, but. I'll get you back on track.
We'll just go down to agenda there.
That is, I think I'm on the right spot.
Yeah, let's go down.
Slide.
Oh, you're way too far.
I pass you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're in the law board.
yeah, there's a lot of.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with it.
You know, it was John, we didn't have a choice.
Somebody else cut into my time.
Go ahead.
Next one up.
It's the
Next one up.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Okay,
Let's not wait.
all right, thanks. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good. Thank you for the time. I will get you back on track, because I didn't make a full presentation on this. So for Aggieville, we made a request for $5,000, and it's something that you've never funded us for before. Which it would be great if you did. So just as an explanation, not that anybody needs to know what Aggieville is, but we are currently holding right at about 100 businesses with about 50 property owners and a couple of governing boards. My information is there about our board of directors and how we get funded. We get funded, through the city, through the transient guest tax, and through our Aggieville Business Improvement District. But I guess our highlight is that we're still, I think, the best known shopping center and entertainment area in Riley County. We are a real conglomerate of college students, Fort Riley soldiers and officers, and all sorts of visitors. It was a huge weekend in Aggieville last week. It was really, really nice to have all the streets open. like we said, it's the first time in 5 years that we've had all the streets open. And, but getting North Manhattan Avenue open, that was not that I could do anything about it, but we certainly talked to them a lot about getting open before graduation. That was a huge deal. And even if we had to screw around with Aggieville, welcome to.
What happened there?
As a side, that's really interesting, that's, people have asked me about that, and I said, honestly, I can tell you, I did not know that's what that was gonna look like, until it was up. And even then, I just looked at it and just said, yeah, it doesn't bother me. But obviously, social media has another, it's another world out there. And but then looking back, McCown Gordon gave me boards, that about 3 foot by 2 foot of artist renderings of all this stuff that they're doing. And I've had those for 7 months, 8 months. It's on there. I just never looked at it. I mean, because I was looking at the overall picture of what the park looked like, what the parking spots looked like. You can see the Aggieville Arch, but it was just kind of, where the bar is underneath. Once you really go back and look at it and go, yeah, it wasn't there. No, it is there. Just never really paid any attention to it. So I guess we have to take some of that, but it's down. I should be getting that sometime this week in case anybody needs a welcome to. Raleigh County Commission, welcome to. Yeah, that's what you need.
I'm sure we can do that one on our own.
But for our $5,000 request, we have been, there's some things that we've had to put off and not do. And some of that has been well deserved. One of the things we kind of pushed back on was, a quarterly sidewalk power washing and things like that. Some of that was because we had blocks that weren't open and we're getting new sidewalks and all that stuff. But now it's even more important than ever that we stay up with the current things. I'm kind of sad to see that we're going to lose out on those granite medallions that were in the sidewalk that we sold over the years.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing that we had, but it was never done the way you would like. Some of them would sink, so now all those are coming out. So the ones are still on Morrill Street, which makes it where you have to look down when you're walking. Otherwise, you can step into a hole on one of those. But where they replace that, now that's some brickwork and things like that we really need to keep up with. So we're just hoping that we can add to our budget and we can fulfill some of the things that need to be done down in Aggieville. Puts you back on track, I think. Any questions for me other than signage?
No, I'm very glad to see everything's open and moving
Yeah.
again. It's nice.
It really is, and we got surprised there a little bit when the city came in and did an asphalt overlay.
Yeah.
Which was really, really needed. It would have been nice to do the whole street, but at least it's you can drive down the street and not knock the shocks right out of your vehicle. So that part of Morrill that'll be coming at some point, but probably we're thinking now maybe 2025. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dennis.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Commissioners. 11:20, it's time for Patrick Bond. Just about a minute. Here, Patrick.
You roll it down. Go on YouTube right at 11.
Yep.
We go by the computer clock. As advertised.
It's 11:20.
I'm Patrick Gormley. I'm the treasurer of the Riley County Genealogical Society. I'd like to introduce Virginia Peterson, who is our president. Her engineer husband, and she was in the president's office, both at West Virginia University. They recently returned to Manhattan. The document we gave you that you have up there on your screen is much like we've done in the past. We think we're one of the stars in Riley County, the service that we provide. We're all volunteers. The library is open, I think, 18 hours a week. With staff with 2 people, one who's an expert on the local collection, and then one who's familiar with computers. As you can see from ads on TV all the time for Ancestry and others, an awful lot of work is now done online, and we're really making shift. One of the things that Virginia has done just in the last few weeks, I think, is get all of our publications, Kansas Kin, all the way back to the 1970s, 1963. All of that's online for anybody anywhere in the world to have access to. You may notice if you drive by, and I don't know if all of you have been in the library, you really should come by when we're there and see how nice it looks inside the collection that we have. And if you look on the west side, we spent some of the funds that were donated last year to landscaping to make that west side between the Platt House and the ambulance service much more presentable, much more attractive if you look at it. See, then we've got our standard programs that we try to have at the Manhattan Public Library about once a month. Local topics of family history, and we're planning, I think it's along with the Historical Museum, a fair to be held in Potthorpe Hall sometime in August. And one of the presentations there will be DNA, the use of DNA in genealogy by the head of the director of biology at Kansas State, whose specialty is genetics. He's going to report on his own family history. And I guess the last point we would make, if you or somebody in your family should be into genealogy and recording this, and if you need help, you know where to go. Okay. Did Virginia want to say?
No, it's August 19th, and at Potterton, we're always looking for people to exhibit their information for two. Still in that process.
Any questions? You'll really be on track here. And I didn't realize it. I thought we probably had the smallest request of the county commissions, but the 2 previous groups were talking about $5,000. We didn't collaborate on this. $5,000 request, but and that's roughly probably what our utilities will be to keep the place warm in the winter, cool in the summer, and give our internet connection, our high-speed internet connection that we have. It's absolutely essential. Yeah, so that can help us with that.
Flint Hills Veterans Coalition is the smallest.
I'm sorry.
Flint Hills Veterans Coalition is the smallest request.
Well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Business is completed.
We are. Commissioner Ford has the ball board.
Yep.
Kristen, get off the hook.
Yep.
With the gloomy rainy weather. All right.
Gonna run back up here shortly.
Yeah, I'll take the rainy weather.
Make that work Thursday.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm getting license, but then it'll go to 90 degrees and.
It's not on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It works.
I just wanted last night too. That's why it's raining. Orange grass.
I don't have anything else. Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn the May 15th meeting in the Riley County Commission.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded to adjourn the Raleigh County Commission, from today's meeting, the 15th of May. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.